She asked me, she goes, "Are you not on this anymore?" I'm like, no.
I forgot that I had printed that out earlier.
Yeah, I wrote it.
Oh, was this in tonight's paper?
It was in the Monday media updates from Tara. I just read those.
Yeah,
every
it was
Monday
last
after.
week.
This is last week's.
It was the
I
week
thought-
before.
wait a
No,
minute,
it
in
wasn't.
tonight's
No,
paper?
it was
No,
not.
I saw this.
That's the
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
before.
And that's a picture from
And good evening and welcome to the October 13th, 2014 regular meeting of the Waterloo Community School District Board of Education. I hereby call the meeting to order. And just before we get started, we're missing one board member tonight, Andrea Sparks. She's out of town and unable to be with us. But with that, please now join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now Pam Arndorfer will read the school district's mission statement.
The Waterloo Schools community commits to a comprehensive system of education and support to assure that each and every student will graduate prepared for college, career, and citizenship, as evidenced by continuing education, pursuing a career path, and contributing to a community.
Thank you, Pam. And the first item on our agenda is a board celebration regarding Character Counts Week, which is coming up. And along with that, we have Mindy Fisher who's here for, I think also for the bullying, but we have Bruce Clark here as well. And Bruce, if you could come forward to the podium. This is Agenda A on page 1 in our board packet. And there's a proclamation. Why don't we'll get the motion on the floor, and then I'll have Dr. Lindeman read the proclamation, and then maybe we can get some information after that. Okay. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education proclaim the week of October 19th through the 25th as Character Counts Week in the Waterloo schools. Thank you. It's been moved. Second. And with that, I'd ask Dr. Lindeman to read the proclamation.
Certainly. Whereas citizens of good character are a most valuable asset to our community, providing a safe and caring environment where all citizens value and model the principle that character counts. And whereas the 6 pillars of character include trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. And whereas the Waterloo Schools supports the Cedar Valley Character Counts Committee in its efforts to provide leadership and coordination for the promotion and encouragement of a community-wide character education program for our youth. And whereas with their guidance, we will teach, enforce, advocate, and model the 6 essential pillars of character to our young citizens. And whereas this work will foster greater understanding and cooperation among individuals and organizations of our community to set good examples and address the positive issues that will shape our community's future. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Jane Lindeman, do hereby proclaim the week of October 19 through 25 as Character Counts Week in the Cedar Valley. Further, I urge the students and staff of Waterloo Schools to become aware of the importance of community-wide character education and show support for the positive character development of the youth in our community. For further information, we urge citizens to visit www.charactercountsiniowa.org.
Thank you, Dr. Lindeman. And Bruce, thank you for being here. I know you've done a whole lot of work with this committee for a number of years as well, and you're chairing the Character Counts Committee now. Just if you could give us some background information on the work you've been doing.
Share my passion for the Character Council. We appreciate your support and the support that the school and the staff have done across many, many years. And that's how I got involved with it as a community member that got out and some school staff too. So
microphone on for him.
There was a posting on Twitter, the Cherokee County posting on Twitter that said, Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah, maybe press that green. Oh. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. And it's some. Are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty
You got a little
gravelly
bit of
anyway,
the,
so you want to
a
make sure,
cold?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of battling a bug. But just yesterday, they posted on Twitter a quote from Andrew Carnegie who said, "The older I get, the less I listen to what people say, and the more I look at what people do." And I think that leads in well to what our committee's been doing over the past year, because we've been looking. We started out in last November, working with the University of Northern Iowa, Nita Gordon, and many others out there, and we cooperated with them on a symposium for ethics and organizations, where we presented things to businesses and organizations about what they can do to create and keep an ethical culture in their businesses, and also talking to students about how they should look for ethical culture in the businesses they work for. And then in April, we held our annual Champions of Character function in the Cedar Valley, where we recognized businesses, organizations, individuals, citizens, students, and schools for what they've done to exemplify being trustworthy, being respectful, being responsible, being fair, being cared, and being caring, and being good citizens. And of course, you know that included Becker Elementary and the staff and students there, as well as Joe Balsam, that was nominated by one of his co-workers at West High School. Tomorrow, several of us are going to be volunteering at the Pursuing Victory with Honors Summit at University of Northern Iowa. It's their turn to have it out there. I know the high schools from Waterloo are going to be participating, where they'll be learning about things they can do to work character education into extracurricular activities. So we appreciate your support on this, and we're going to continue to look for ways to incorporate that into our community, and we appreciate your letting people know in Waterloo that character counts. Thank you very much.
Right. Bruce, thank you very much. Thanks for all your work as well. And I understand you're off to Cedar Falls for something else this evening, and then the symposium's tomorrow?
The symposium's tomorrow, yeah. We're organizing tonight out here, what I'm supposed to do tomorrow, I guess.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, Bruce, thank you again. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay, and the chair votes aye. Motion carried. Bruce, thanks again. And please express our gratitude to your committee as well. Thank you for all your work. The next item on our agenda is the next item on our agenda is the board celebration and a proclamation regarding Anti-Bullying Month. And so we've got Cora Turner's here and Mindy Fisher are here, and then a number of students are here, and we've got a video to watch. This is Exhibit B on page 4. And as they're setting up, just some background information on this, it's designating October as Anti-Bullying Month. And the students here, if I could turn it over to you, if you could introduce yourselves and show us the video.
Okay, I'm Cassie Lloyd. I'm a freshman at West High School, and
Go ahead, Izzy.
We got you.
I'm Isabella Schlarman. I'm also a freshman at West High.
I'm Anna McNally. I'm a 6th grader at Hoover.
I'm Morgan Self. I'm an 8th grader at Hoover.
I'm Sabir Mohammed, and I'm a 7th grader at Bunger.
I'm Sierra Rafai, and I'm an 8th grader at Bunger.
And I'm Jack Chacon, and I'm an 8th grader at Hoover.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, and you have a video?
We have a video to show you, but Sierra and Miss McNally here have some compliments to share with you guys. One of the things we do is whenever we have events, the kids like to give compliments to people because one of our missions is to bring everybody up. So they're going to go ahead and go give you that while I boot up the video.
We usually don't get compliments at our Thank you. Everybody up here, if you press your blue button and your screen will pop up. Oh, thank you.
They'll read it.
Thank you.
What? Hey, can I have my book back?
Can I have my book bag? No.
Why are you sitting here all alone, you nerd? Don't you have any friends?
Yeah, I have friends. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. What kind do you like?
Can I play?
No.
Oh my gosh, I love how much you guys are.
Oh my gosh, they're so weird. Yeah. They think they're better than everybody else. They're so full of themselves. Oh, you guys have a geeky day? What kind of person dyes their hair?
That hair is so dark.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
All right, so besides the few audio things, these videos were sent to all of our schools to show during this month to encourage conversations, along with the lesson plan of possibly pausing the video at the "Have you seen this?" the black and white version, and pausing it to encourage the children to discuss anti-bullying efforts. And if they've seen that all of the first videos don't actually depict bullying. They've just picked mean behavior or bad behavior. The last video, the "I am somebody," because that behavior is repeated, it could fit the definition of bullying. And so the kids came up with these scenarios. They wrote the scripts. They acted out the videos. They gave up time during the summer. They gave up time after school. They've found transportation to events like this or the other things. And they've done this because they have all been committed to this. And how this honestly got started was last November, so over just under a year ago. Miss Turner said, we need to know what else we can do. Have some students come down to the ESC and ask them what else we can do. Share with them what we've done. So we did, and then these guys all standing behind me, their counselors brought them down here and we fed them lunch and all of that, and they said, you know what we can do better? We can create a group. And so they've decided to make this group, and they call themselves the League of Caring Students, and they've done quite a bit of work around anti-bullying efforts and are continuing to do that. And some of them have gone to city council meetings in Waterloo and Cedar Falls and Evansdale. Some of them have been at our movie nights, and we're going to do our movie nights again this year. This year we're going to show 2 different movies. And they've done a whole bunch of other things. So, and I know that you guys don't need to hear from me. You probably need to hear from them, but I will let you guys take the lead.
Oh, thank you. All that was helpful because I was curious about how the students came together, the League of Caring Students. But thank you for that information. And you're all from different schools. It looks like you filmed this. Was it at Central? Okay.
Parts of it were at Central, and one of it was at Carver.
Okay, gotcha. And so would you get together regularly during the year?
Quarterly.
Okay. And so did you all volunteer for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how can other kids get involved?
Well, you just gotta talk to the counselor at your school, and if you actually want to stop bullying or show kindness, then you just talk to your counselor, and that's how you may get in.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Any other questions? Okay. Guys, you did a great job with the video. I think it was sent around, was it school-wide last week? I think I saw it. Maybe it might have been an email from Tara to us with a link. So, yeah.
And I would also add, too, that there's a really good documentary on tonight at 8 o'clock on Iowa Public Television. And in past years, we've actually taken some of our students to the theater to see this movie. It's just simply called Bully. And but it's on, in the comfort of your home at 8 p.m. tonight on Waterloo. It's Channel 12, Iowa Public Television. So if you get a chance to watch that, I would encourage everyone to watch that. It's really good.
We're gonna show the movie Bully October 28th.
Oh, wonderful.
And at Central.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. And that's the
great.
same one that's on tonight on TV.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Well, guys, great job. Thank you to all of you for being here. And job well done. So, and Ms. Fisher and Ms. Turner, thank you both for your role in this and getting everything together as well. Thanks again. The next item on our agenda is Exhibit C. It's on page 6, and this is for an update about Lou Henry Hoover and with a connection to the Hoover Presidential Foundation. And to kind of explain this is Tara Thomas. She's done a lot of work on this, I think. With
Hi, just real quickly,
Lyle
I wanted
Schmidt's
to
suggestion.
give a nod per Lyle Schmidt's suggestion that we would pursue this earlier this year when the Hoover Presidential Foundation released the coin. There was a ceremony. It landed in the Courier, and it was suggested to me, hey, we should do something down the road if they're going to do any kind of ceremonial rollout for the First Lady's coin. Well, that led to me contacting Brad Reiner, the communication manager for the foundation back then, and we've stayed in touch. And because they've not decided to do any kind of formal presentation for the First Lady coin, they did offer the opportunity for President Hoover's great-granddaughter, Leslie Hoover Laubel, to visit both Hoover and Lou Henry. So a week from today, she'll be visiting the schools, and we're finalizing the details to whom those presentations will be directed. But it's a really fun opportunity for both the students and staff to learn directly from the mouth of this direct descendant of the president. So it's an exciting event, and I just wanted to let you all know about it and to thank Lyle Schmidt for lighting the spark that led to this now event happening in a week.
Do you know where she's the daughter?
I don't. She does. She's a big part, they said, of the awarding the scholarships for the foundation. So I'm not sure if she flies in for that, but
Okay.
I will know more when we
Gotcha.
meet her next week.
It should be interesting. So thank you for your work in getting
Yes,
this organized.
and thank you,
Lyle.
Lyle.
Thank you for the tip. Yeah.
And hopefully she'll address, Hoover was known as the famine relief czar,
Yeah.
both before and after he was president.
Yeah.
So the previous presidents had called on him for that. And then afterwards, too, particularly, I think as it applied to Europe after World War
One
I.
and two. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's
Mhm.
right, and two. So he's probably more known for that. And then Lou Henry Hoover was, I don't remember exactly, but she was very accomplished in her own right.
Yeah, very much so. I think at the Girl Scouts, I think she was very
I believe,
fundamental.
yeah, I believe that's
Yeah.
what it was.
Mhm.
So there's really quite a story there. So hopefully we'll learn more about that on October 20th.
Yes. And I think Lou Henry lived, I think she moved a lot I think throughout her entire life. I think she lived in Waterloo for the longest period ever, in one place. So, only First Lady from Waterloo. All right, with that, now it's time for information from individuals or delegations. In this, anybody can come up to speak. I don't know if there's anybody that wishes to. We've got an open enrollment appeal, and I know that the family's here. That's on the agenda. And do you wish to speak about that to the board? You can do it now, but if that's all right, we could probably just do it if we take it off the consent agenda. As well, okay. Yeah, then we'll give you an opportunity in a couple minutes if you want to talk about that. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on anything else? Matt O'Brien? No? Okay. Okay. Well, seeing none, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. And tonight, the consent agenda consists of, there are 5 matters. I think we'll take at least 2 off. But the first is that the minutes of our last regular board meeting 3 weeks ago, on September 22nd. Then our personnel appointments and adjustments since our last board meeting. Then our bills due and payable since our last board meeting. Then an open enrollment appeal. And then finally, the appointment of the 2014 to 2015 School Improvement Advisory Committee, or SIAC. And so, are there any items that board members wish to be removed? G, and that's the open enrollment appeal, so we'll go through this part to approve the rest of it and then bring that up as well. And then I'll ask that Exhibit F, bills due and payable, to be removed, because I'll abstain on that. Anything else? Okay.
And item H has been added to that.
Oh, okay. Item H regarding SIAC. Okay. Is there, hearing no others, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, I guess consisting of items D and E. Okay. Any a second? Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the chair votes aye. Motion carried. That then takes us to Exhibit F on page 15. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the bills due and payable and the bills paid between board meetings. Can we get that motion on the floor?
So moved.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
Okay, and before discussion, I'll abstain from voting on this because as an attorney, I represent a client who's paid by one of the bills. Any questions or discussion? Okay. If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the chair abstains. That takes us then to Exhibit G on page 26. And this is the open enrollment appeal. And the recommended motion for the board to approve, and this is coming from the hearing officer from the hearing, is that the Board of Education should approve the findings in fact and conclusions of law as prepared by the hearing officer after the open enrollment appeal hearing of the parents of Cecilia Kearney Lopez as attached, and uphold the denial of the open enrollment request for the student, in this case as shown in the attached Exhibit A, proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law. You get that motion on the table in a second?
Second.
Okay. And again, the family's here, and we've got the recommended motion and then the background here, as well as a letter from Tim Luce, who's the board's attorney, and he's the hearing officer in this matter, and then the proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law here in our board packet. And so this is always a little bit strange of a deal. I don't know if there's more you wanted to add, I guess, to this, or if there are questions.
I guess to sum it up, what's the verdict?
If you could, ma'am, if you could just state your name and yeah.
My name is Tara Carney. I'm Cecilia's mother. To sum it up, what is the verdict?
Okay, the recommended motion is denial.
Okay.
Yeah.
So recommending denial for what reason?
Because I think the application was late.
Okay, it was late, but when we went to the appeal, did any of you guys read or hear anything that was said in the appeal?
No, that's what
And
we're
the defense?
doing. Yeah, that's what we're doing
Had I
tonight.
known that, I would have brought everything with me. So I appealed the decision on one, Cecilia has been bullied. She did not bring it to anybody's attention, because when I did bring it to the teacher's attention, the one and only time she told me about it, he confronted Cecilia in front of the class and humiliated her. She is in a special education room. She suffers from extreme anxiety. She also has an IEP that with recommendations that she have an iPad because she is an auditorial learner, and that all of her textbooks be on there. They are not doing that. They have not done that, not even last year. I've even for so much as put my house up for sale to move out of the district to get my daughter a better education. And nothing is being done about her being bullied. Now, when I found out about it, Cecilia has a therapist that she sees on a weekly basis. She talks to her about things. I asked Cecilia when I knew that I was appealing this, I said, Sil, I want you to write a letter to the school board, and I want you to ask them and tell them why you want to be out of that school. And for the first time when I read that letter in tears of my daughter being bullied and pushed around and elbowed in hallways, she kept that inside. She missed over 100 periods last year because she is so full of anxiety to go to this school. And I have to, for so much as keep doing this over and over again. I've been trying to get her out of that school since the middle of 6th grade, and she is now in 8th grade. So I highly, please, I am begging you to look at all the facts, not hearsay. Look at the facts, and I presented every single one of those facts very well, and they are all validated. They are validated with her being pushed around and shoved around. It's been validated that the school does not have patience with her through an email that was confirmed through the counselor. And it's also been validated that they are not they're not following through with the IEP. And the IEP, from what I understand, is a legal binding contract. Am I correct? Correct.
Sure.
That nothing is being done. And I want her out of that school. So please forgive me for being a little antsy, but
Okay.
I'm-
You said you've been at this since 6th grade?
since the middle of 6th grade, but she was diagnosed as being an auditorial learner with print disability October of last year.
Okay, so what, can you go through the timing of when you submitted the
I
application?
don't have any of my paperwork with me. I did submit the application late. I put my house up for sale to get out of the district. I was running out of time, so I found out that we could apply for open enrollment, is I had open enrollment and voluntary transfer kind of confused on which applications I needed to do. But I found out that I could do it late if there was a valid reason. And this is all valid reason to me.
Yeah, and the pervasive harassment is a valid reason. Now, the recommendation of the hearing officer, though, is that there were not...
Because she didn't report it to the teachers.
Okay.
And I get that she didn't report it to the teachers.
Okay.
She talked to her therapist about it, and she wrote a letter to, and I get that's not hardcore evidence. But I tell you one thing that is hardcore evidence,
Well,
in your guys' mission statement,
Yeah.
her IEP is not being met.
Okay,
That-
is it Carney?
It's Carney, yes.
Okay. Ms. Carney, but you understand, what you said before was there's horrible bullying, and you've been trying to do this for the last 2
I
years,
did
I guess?
not get her out. I have not been trying to get her out for the bullying for the last 2 years. This is the first year for bullying. The last 2 years has been the first year. She was in 6th grade. She went to Lou Henry
Okay.
for whatever reason. Pointer didn't have accommodations or whatever, so she got to go to whatever the reason was. So then at the transition time, I had the choice of her going to Hoover or going to our homeschool, Bunger. Well, I had a freshman starting that was going to East High, so I said, well, I'll just try our homeschool. There's no way I can get both of them across town at the same time. So that's what I did, gave it a try. And her teacher in 6th grade, some medical problem happened, and they were going, and she's in a special education room, again, high anxiety, bouncing back and forth from substitute to substitute, and then it turned out to be long-term. So 6th grade was just kind of not good for her. And so then at that point, that's when I decided, okay, we need to get her out of this school. So then I did an open enrollment or whatever late. I get that, and it was denied. Okay, we'll try it again another year. Well, 7th grade, it was just not any better. So I said, this year, I promise, we're getting you out of that school. I'm putting the house up for sale, and this is what it's going to happen. House didn't sell. I'm still here, and now I
Okay,
did an
so
open enrollment.
in this application, that's not the first one that was late. That one was last year, and you moved on and then applied this year?
Yes.
Okay. Have you worked with the school? You talked about going to another environment. You think another school, another middle school would be?
I feel another
helpful?
district would be helpful.
Okay.
I've
The
talked to
district
many
or middle school?
teachers. The district.
Okay.
I've talked to, I mean, if I have to go through this much, I just want to be out of the district with her, and I don't feel that I have to rely on my house to be sold to do that. I mean, this is her education we're talking about. I mean, we're
Yeah.
literally setting her up for failure at this point. She goes to high school next year. She's not going to be ready for high school at
Okay.
this point.
But what I'm wondering, there are other programs within the district. Have you pursued those routes?
I have not pursued anything else other than what I'm here for.
Okay. I'm trying to think if we could get somebody to talk to you. This is kind of an odd
I get
way
that.
to do it because
And Mike, can
We're
I
at the
just
board
ask a
meeting,
question
yeah.
about the pervasive bullying? Did you present that at your appeal, or is that information that's come to light since you read the letter from your daughter? Did that information ever get to?
That information came to me actually before I did the appeal.
Okay.
That information came to me before I did the appeal.
And that was
There's a-
presented in your appeal?
Yes.
That information?
Yes. They have a copy of that letter.
Yeah, and I think I could add just a little bit to that. And I was only available by phone. I was actually traveling back from another meeting. But by definition of pervasive, really the school staff would need some time. I mean, if we're aware of it, then we need time to be able to attack the issue. And I think that's the problem in this case, is that once they've become aware of it, now they need to assist. But if at that time they didn't know about it, because I think it,
Yeah, I
it
completely
came,
get that,
right.
and I completely
I
understand that.
Right, and so now, I mean, really by law, we need some time to address that issue, and that's what we're asking for. And as far as the IEP, any time that any teacher is not following the IEP, we want to do that, and that's our job. And so as soon as there was an awareness that the IEP was not being followed, that's our job to spring into action and
Okay, it's
fix
been going on.
and fix any issues that are not being addressed at that point in time. So as far as I just wanted to address those two issues about the comment about pervasive bullying. We need to know about it, and now that we do. And as far as the IEP, once we know that that's not being followed, then that's our job to spring into action at this point in time.
Okay,
So
and
that's
it's
why
been
the
known.
denial.
So
Yeah, Jane, this in here says that what this was based upon was pervasive harassment.
and that it was not founded.
It's
Right.
That the
repeated
allegations are
allegations
not
of that, but because it did not come to light until the open enrollment was filed, pervasive is it happens. You know, nothing, it doesn't get better, it happens, the school's aware of it, it happens, the school's aware of it, and so that's,
So
so that's the issue.
this is the thing here. When I've had many different reasons why I wanted to get her out of the district. And they keep going on bullying. Okay, I get that, and I get that's the law for late open enrollment. I get that. However, Cecilia also, she has extreme anxiety. This is only increasing it. Imagine not understanding. Imagine you guys going into a Spanish room, people speaking Spanish or reading Spanish per se, because you can't understand what they're saying. Well, she's going into a room and can't read her books because the audio is supposed to be reading it to her, and that's not happening. So it's increasing anxiety. So she's missing school. She doesn't want to go to school. She's getting herself sick. She's breaking out. I mean, there's all kinds of things that's showing this, but it doesn't seem like I have to jump all these hurdles. I get that, but I'm not going to stop. And I hope you guys can see that.
Yeah.
That it's being covered up. And I have to come this far for something to happen.
Just a minute. What I would say is don't stop. Don't stop trying to advocate for your daughter and get her in the right placement. But at the same time, we're looking at this. What I think you just said was there are a number of reasons you want to go. It's just you applied late. So really the only exceptions to applying late and still getting it approved are pervasive harassment and bullying. And they're saying in here and everything is that it hasn't been pervasive. And if you sound like if it was, you just brought it up to the school, then they've got to have time to respond to it. So it doesn't mean that anybody's out to get you or get your daughter or look past it. But at the same time, it has to be a two-way street. You talked about the contract with the IEP. You need to stay involved, too, and communicate with the school and the staff and try to figure out where the best placement is for her. And so I think with the school, if there are other alternate places, then we should probably talk about that tomorrow morning.
So
Not
what
tonight,
constitutes pervasive? How many incidents over what period of time?
You know, I don't know that there's a hard and fast rule on that. I don't know that I could tell you it's 3 times of being reported and not being fixed. I think there would be it would also depend on the time span that passes from, when that's happening. So I'm positive what the hearing officer was listening for is things that would constitute pervasive, that it's continued, that it was reported, that it's continuing to happen over a period of time. If something happened 3 times over 3 years versus 3 times over 3 months, there would certainly be a difference there as well. So it's a variety of factors.
What were the other factors you talked? Is it things like transportation and?
She has no problem with transportation.
Okay, you said there were other factors that went into the decision.
No, I
to
said
leave
that there
the
was other things that I had presented that were valid.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And with Cecilia being bullied by particular people in the school, she's
And we're
not the only
checking
one
on
that is.
I think with Mindy, can kind of provide more of the definition of the
So who was the hearing officer in this case?
Tim Lewis. Mindy, if we could put you on the spot, there was a question asked about what is pervasive harassment. Is that right? Because one of the exceptions to the timing for open enrollment appeals is pervasive harassment.
So the state would define pervasive harassment as repeated over time and causes harm, physical or mental.
Okay.
But
But-
there's no
but-
parameter on
Hard and fast.
Like 3 is or 2 is not, or
There is
50
not a
is.
parameter
Yeah.
around it because there's the state definition has the word perception in it. And so it's very, very gray, and there isn't, happens 3 times, it happens 4 times, it happens once. There isn't that parameter around it because of that word perceived in the definition.
Okay. And now that
So,
you say that, I think the state legislature looked this last legislative session at defining it further.
yes.
And then ended up scrapping it because they didn't.
Exactly,
it just
because
got
nobody could really
wordsmithed.
no one
Yeah.
could really define it
Okay.
because of the emotional or the physical harm piece of it and the perception. So I might perceive harm done to me, but it might not actually be harm done to me. So the state did scrap it, but there is that definition of there. But it has to be repeated. It has to be, and really, they say it's repeated by the same individuals.
Got it. Okay.
So perceived in the eyes of who?
That's the part the state has not defined. It says perceived threat, or and they don't say it's perceived in the eyes of who. They didn't get through that definition.
I think,
But
if I recall
typically
correctly,
it's-
they tried, and it ended
Yes,
up being there were
and
so many
typically,
exceptions to
it has to be repeated over time, and it has to cause harm. Like there has to be proof of the harm.
Got it.
But now on here, we have that the therapist testified that it would be in her best interest.
we
Right.
place in a different school.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. But
And s-
I'm just saying, a therapist is saying that. How do we validate that? She said
Right.
mental harm. How do we validate that?
As well as her doctor in Iowa City.
Right. Yeah, and I can speak to that too. I know that, and I'm going to go back to my years as a principal, my 12 years as a principal. And this is going to sound probably not like what you want to hear, but what I would tell you that is a lot of times they are going strictly by what the student might say or what the parents might say. I always like to know that they've worked with the school district, they've worked with whatever, and in this case, you don't know, and so we're looking for a fully involved conversation between the therapist before that recommendation is, because quite honestly, my statement actually has not very much to do with you. I'm going to talk generally from my years as a principal. A lot of times I had noticed that we would get statements from a counselor that would say, we think this is a good route to go, but they had never asked the school for involvement. That certainly is not always the case, but we would want to know more about the opinion that's being given and based on what.
So were you told that your therapist needed to contact the schools?
From who?
Prior to the recommendation, did she work with the school district, or on what did she base her recommendation?
Through her sessions with Cecilia.
Right. Yeah, and that's my point.
And
without working
Cecilia,
with the
typically,
Right.
the student goes to a counselor and talks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is valid from me saying they don't have patience with Cecilia, and with Cecilia not feeling comfortable in telling somebody, one, her teacher called her out in front of the class and humiliated her. Two, her counselor doesn't have patience for her, and then going by an email that she sent to the board, I believe it was to Mindy Fisher, I believe. I have a copy of it. But she feels as if she's babysitting Cecilia and says some crappy things. I mean, who is she to go to? Who does she feel confident in? She doesn't have a relationship there with anybody that she can feel confident in. So what do we do? We wait till she hurts herself?
No.
Or we wait until she gets hurt?
No, and nobody's saying that right now, but it might fall on your shoulders too, to try to work with the school. It looks like on here, if she's saying her best interest would be to be placed in a different school, we're already into the school year.
I want her out of the board. I want her out of Waterloo School.
Okay, but there are three other, what I'm saying is there are three other middle schools, plus we have some alternate programming as well. Have you looked into that?
I responded earlier. I have not. This is my.
So your mind
route.
is made up.
My mind is definitely made up. In my house, when it does sell, we will move
Okay,
to a
and
different
that, you
district.
can do that at any
No, I'm
time.
just saying that's
Yeah.
my mind is made up. That's
You can do that
why
at
I
any
want
time,
her
but
out of here.
You can also go. You can pay in tuition in.
$6,400. I
or you
absolutely
can ask
have
the
that.
school district to pay for you, and that's what you're doing here tonight. And that's your right, and you can ask that. But you've got to understand, we're trying to look at this from basically all different perspectives.
And I'm looking at it
here.
as a parent.
And I understand that, and you should, and you should.
And every single
Yeah.
one of you guys would be doing the same thing. This is her
I don't
iPad
know-
from school.
Okay. I
One
don't know
game.
if-
I'm sorry to
That's
interrupt, but I just
necessary.
wanted to ask, I was present at the hearing, and isn't it true, I just wanted to acknowledge how well Cecilia has done from 6th grade to 8th grade. She's getting almost all A's
Okay.
and B's, she has almost perfect attendance, and she's an office assistant.
Actually, she's been fired.
Okay, but up to this point, hasn't she been having a good school year? So I just wanted to
Okay.
acknowledge that
She has been
perhaps things have improved
she's
a
been
little
having a good school year due to her therapist. And she has missed 2 weeks of school since the hearing. Because she's so worked up about getting out of that school.
But isn't this a proposed finding of fact?
Yes.
That Cecilia's therapist testified it would be in Cecilia's best interest?
To be placed in a different school.
So,
Is it the wording? I mean,
It's a school, not a school district. You're asking the school district to pay your tuition to go to a different school district. And
so this is about money.
No, that's what you talked about with your tuition, that you want the school district to pay for it. You can sell your house or you can move, but we have these factors in here, what the
What?
school district will pay for it. What we're saying is, we've got some other alternatives, and have we looked through those within the school district?
For the third time, I have not looked at anything else.
And that says a lot.
And that says a lot. Well, going with the Waterloo School Board, or the schools, I should say, I want her out of those. And what I have to do, I mean, I'm here doing whatever I have to do.
And I think Tara's comment too, I appreciate you bringing that up too, because again, I was, in by phone, but I do remember hearing that she had had a really good school year this year. And speaking again as a past administrator, when somebody's having a really good school year, their grades are good, their attendance is good, and there had been no reports of bullying or anything like that. The facts leading up to that is she was having a good year so far. And so we are asking for a chance to fix the issues that are still, that were surfaced at that open enrollment. But up until that time, things were going well. Am I
Yes,
right?
they
Right,
were.
they were. And so
they
we're
were
asking
going well.
for
We
a chance
had
to
a
fix
plan
whatever's not.
intact.
Right.
And
Right.
she didn't understand her homework. She would bring it home, and I didn't understand why she didn't. This is why.
Yeah. And we're asking now that that issue is surfaced, and I'm not sure what happened at the open enrollment that since that time, I'm not sure what would have changed so much that she instantly missed 2 weeks of school. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if you want to fill us in on that, but I don't know. Up until that time, she was having a pretty good year, and then the open enrollment hearing, and then 2 weeks of absence.
Right.
And I think
Panic
that was
attacks.
just a couple weeks ago was the open enrollment.
September 25th.
Yeah, so I mean, just a few weeks ago, and since that time, she's missed 2 weeks. So I don't know what happened at that hearing that caused that big change.
what are the factors that have led you to believe that Cedar Falls would be a better setting?
Just from talking with different teachers, students, parents, going to the school board myself,
In the
talking in the Cedar Falls School District.
teachers in the school she would be in?
I'm talking to both Pete and Holmes.
Teachers that would have
And
her.
what have
Yes. Pardon?
they, and so if you could be just a little more specific, what have they offered in terms of a environment?
I feel their compassion is a lot stronger, and they're a lot more confident in their teachings than what has been going on right now, as well as the principal. So,
Okay, thank you.
is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any
This
further?
sh-
Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
This shouldn't be about money. Matter of fact, the count date's already over, so it won't be about money for this year for sure.
No, it's not. And my
and-
point in bringing that up is the choice here, I guess, with the district. Nobody is telling you, ma'am, what you can or can't do with your daughter. But what I would say is, when you have to, it's within your right to do everything you can for your daughter in the best environment that she's in. But I wouldn't. You sound frustrated right now. What I would say is don't try to place it all on the school district, or saying you're already done and you won't work with the school district. I think that's where the rub that I see. Okay, it
She's
didn't
had a
look
good-
like that. It didn't look like that from the facts. Okay. In that, if you do stay and there's another application, make sure you get those in on time, especially when it's going on, because you don't want to delay anything that you can do for your daughter, as well. It's a tough deal. So.
I think I'm gonna vote in favor of the parent in this case because A, it shouldn't be about money. B, there's been a series of incidents. C, the therapist is saying needs to be placed in a different school, so I don't think you have to wait until there's real harm done before you say, hey, I'm going to do what's best for this kid.
And I would just point out that a therapist who has not ever talked with the school, I think that's significant.
And I'm going to vote for it just because I haven't felt that the pervasive bullying was the real culprit or the reason behind it. Because I think if there was pervasive bullying, it would have been discussed before. And because of that, I think there might be other factors going into this, and that's being used just because it's an exception to the deadline.
Are you Cecilia? Would you mind telling us how it's gotten worse or not?
But you don't.
can't.
It's up
She
to you.
can't, okay.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
No, that's fine.
I would vote.
You don't have to. You don't have to do it, or you can speak, or yeah.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I just want to come up here with her.
Okay.
You want to talk? You want me to say anything for you? Well, I'm her father. My name is Papa Lopez. And she's kind of shy, so she doesn't really want to talk.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Which is understanding, I guess, in the situation. But I guess, if I want to fill in my words, I guess, I have proof that Cedar Falls District is a lot better. I took my son out of East High after his freshman year, simply because his teacher didn't even know who he was at our first conference. We showed up. She didn't have a clue who he was until she looked up the paperwork and then finally decided, oh, okay, now I know who he is. So that automatically, and he's the one that actually asked us to get him out of school. Not because of bullying, not because of any of those kind of things, but just because of the school. My son graduated. He had 20-something credits, college credits, going into Hawkeye this year. So to me, that's a lot better. He also has a friend who was in the same classes, did the same thing, went to the same thing, but he stayed at East High. And he couldn't get anything out of that academic. He tried. He did the best thing, and I know he did because he's a good kid. And he's starting pretty much college right now, too, with my son Xavier. And he has a way longer road than my son did. So to me, that's proof in our eyes, and we see it. And we see it, it's right there. Now, to me, I guess my thing is, we've heard you guys, we've heard it talk and everything. in your words, why don't you explain to Cecilia why she can't go to Cedar Falls?
Okay.
To make it in her language, because we can go back and forth on words as adults and use these big words and these big reasons or money. But better yet, why don't you explain to her and tell her about the money? Tell
Okay.
her about the situation, why we can't, whether the
We're
money,
not- this-
whether whatever it is or not.
I'm afraid
or we
we're
didn't
getting
give you-
into kind
wait,
of
let me just say one more
exploiting,
thing. Or
exploiting
also,
the situation here a little bit, and we don't want to get into that for your daughter.
no, we're
this
not.
is-
I'm
you
just saying
realize
in
this is
simple
all
words,
televised.
explain to her.
Could I
Yeah.
meet with her in the morning? I don't
Yeah,
think this
that's-
is the appropriate setting to do that to your daughter with anxiety. I just don't
Yeah.
think, I'm feeling for her and I don't think that's
I'm
fair.
worried we're exploiting.
So now you
But-
kind of see the situation that she has to deal with every day with the anxiety.
Could we talk with her in the morning?
Yeah.
I just
Sure.
don't, you're right.
Sure.
Let's
That's
do that.
fine. That's
Yep.
absolutely fine.
Let's
And
do
that's
that.
what we're trying to get at, is saying don't give up on this in terms of the environment or what options
We're not giving
are
up. We're just
out
running
there.
out of time.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it, because
Yeah.
she is going to go into a whole different environment next year. And to me, I think starting fresh now, as fresh as we can get, instead of waiting and waiting and waiting, or possibly waiting too long where some other situation is going to happen and she's really going to not want to go to school at all. It's
Mhm.
getting to that point. And it's gotten to that point last year where she didn't want to go. And to me, I feel for her, because I wouldn't want to be in that situation, you know? So I just think the sooner the better, and I just don't understand why we have to keep going through this over and over again.
We
when
don't, and
when
that's
it could
what
be a
we-
simple yes.
What we're saying here is, let's try to look at the other options that are out there too, and then come back. Because as I understand it, if there is pervasive bullying, that there's no deadline on that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if an application is made that there is pervasive bullying, you can basically make that at any time. The recommendation here is that what's been shown right now is not banned. And so if there is pervasive bullying, that's it. If not, if there's something else, and there's an alternate setting, then I think that's probably worthwhile to pursue that as well in the meantime. If your mind's made up, it sounds like you got your house listed and all that, keep doing that too. Keep going that route as well. Try to probably pursue as many routes as possible. Save your options open. But I think this is getting a little bit too far. It's a little strange to do this in an open meeting where we're on TV.
I guess
and
my
all
thing
that.
is she's here, so it was just, she
I
probably
don't
doesn't
think,
understand
but what I'm
we're
saying is we're not going to get into that right now. So, can you be here tomorrow morning?
I can't. I have to work.
Can you be here tomorrow afternoon?
It wouldn't be until late evening.
Okay. Can you set
Could
something
you-
up during
sure.
the day?
Could you, Tara, would you step out with them and get
Yeah.
contact information and what would work with them, and then we will call you either tonight or first thing in the morning, and we will, matter of fact, I'll call you tonight when the board meeting's over, and we'll get a time set. Would you do that and step out with them?
But I think it's relevant to go back to the original intent of the open meeting, open enrollment law in the state of Iowa, and it was to give parents free choice as to where their student should go to school, which district their student should go to school. Now, for various reasons, originally, and I was on the board at the time, the original argument for restricting open enrollment out of Waterloo was money. Pure and simple. Okay. Then, when it was ruled that wasn't a valid reason, there was they copied Omaha. We copied Omaha that said, well, it's racial percentages. Okay, so it was based on that. Then, when the Supreme Court ruled that in Oregon you can't use racial percentages, it changed again to socioeconomic status. But the intent was to give people free choice. So I guess I'm opposed to putting roadblocks. You shouldn't have to sell your house to follow the spirit of the original law. And I don't think, we should protect the dollars of one student. The question is, do we think this student will be better served where the parents want to send the student? And I think in almost every case, And no one school district, it's not really a knock at Waterloo schools. No one school district is the right school district for every student. They all have their advantages and disadvantages. So I really think we ought to side with the parent choice per the original intent of the law and the testimony of the therapist as in these findings of fact, and just say there's been enough stress already. Let's give the parents free choice. That's what I meant.
Okay.
But
And I
Lyle-
would, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, but what we also have to, it is not specifically anything against you or your daughter. We have specific rules and guidelines that we have to follow. And to keep integrity within our district, we have to follow those rules and laws and guidelines. That's what we're sworn to do when we're voted into office, is to follow those specific rules and guidelines. So if it meets the guideline that is set before us, then we can make a decision whether we think it's valid or it's not valid. But we have to follow specific rules and laws. We have to.
And health is one of those as well.
But so we go by the information we are given, and we have to make a decision based on that. So what we had spoken of earlier is some of this was newer information that was given to us. So what they're saying here is your therapist said a different school. Your therapist didn't say Cedar Falls schools, okay? So what we go in Waterloo, we have different schools that might be a good environment for your daughter. You don't know that. You're just going by hearsay that people have said this is a good school or a bad school.
Do you have a smaller school than Bunger in Waterloo?
Yes. We have smaller options. We sure do. And that's what Jane could discuss with you. But, so we are not trying to go against what your therapist says. We're trying to follow the law that's in front of us, and we're also trying to find the right placement for your daughter. And in some cases, maybe it is a different placement outside the district. But if we have not explored the options within the district, how can we say that's wrong? So we're trying to follow that set of laws and regulations that we are given. So we're not doing this to just say, we don't want this student to go out of the district because of dollars. We're trying to find the best setting where your child can thrive and learn the best that she can learn. Truly, that's why we're here as volunteers. We're not here to make it worse for you. We're trying to make a better situation for her. But what we're hearing from you is you don't want to look at any other situation. You want her to go to Cedar Falls. That's what I'm hearing from you.
We're just doing it because my son went there.
But then you said
But
you had a
the-
son that goes to East High.
Sir,
She said herself, Cecilia would never survive there.
okay.
I mean,
And what I think we're getting at here with the question that's before us is the application was late, so there are only a few limited exceptions to approve the open enrollment appeal based on those limited exceptions. And that's what before us tonight is if there's pervasive harassment. And I don't think we've seen that here. I know that's what you want. If there is pervasive harassment, this can be resubmitted. As well. But that's what we're here to do. So what I think, regardless of what happens, we'll need to follow up on this and kind of go talk about it. But we're here on whether it's pervasive harassment. Getting back, I don't mean to belabor this anymore, but getting back to the open enrollment part of it, that's why we have the process. If the application was submitted on time, then it is entirely choice. There's the diversity plan that goes with it. And I do think there's wisdom behind the diversity plan as well, but open enrollment was not set up, frankly, it wasn't set up so that Martinsdale St. Mary's can have a great baseball team or Appleton Parkersburg can have a great football team. And that's, in some cases, that's what it's turned into. But we have a process. We do allow basically open enrollment for any reason or no reason. It's just you have to submit the application on time. Now, if there is pervasive harassment, come back before us doing this, I would say. But at the same time, let's try to work to kind of untie this knot right now as well and find the best environment, the best role for
But you
daughter.
can't prove pervasive harassment when there's no definition of it. It's all subjective.
No, I think
and
there
that's
is.
why we have
there
free
is.
choice.
We went through the pervasive, whether there was pervasive harassment here tonight, and I don't think there was.
There's no definition.
Discussion of that. Okay.
But yet she told her therapist.
Okay. Then we can kind of talk about that going forward, but I think that's what we've got. Yeah.
That's what I'm not.
Yeah. But just so you understand, there is an open enrollment process that goes, basically, is open for everybody as well.
And Lyle, there is a definition. It's not a hard and fast definition of it has to be 3 times within 3. I mean, there is a definition. It has parameters around. I mean, it has loose parameters. There's a definition. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. It just doesn't say 3 times within such and such amount.
So you can't prove there's pervasive harassment
Well,
because
first of all, the school needs to know about it.
It's in everybody's own individual judgment.
No, we have had pervasive harassment before, and we have approved that. I just don't, as I saw it, I'm just speaking for myself, as I said here, I don't think we saw it this time. Anything further? Okay. If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. And this is to, the recommended is denial of the open enrollment request and accept the proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay, so that's, is it 3 and 3? Yeah. Okay. Oh, chair votes aye. Yeah. 3 and 3.
I don't feel real good about it right now. But we didn't see this stuff. I mean, we got this.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear any testimony.
So this recommendation is not approved.
No.
Yeah, the recommendation is for denial.
Right, so it's not approved.
So
Denial
it's
is
not
not approved.
approved. But does it have to have a majority of vote to approve it? Does it mean the recommend? It's 3-3.
So we're
That's
not,
a very good question.
we're not denying.
Let me see. And Michael, our resident.
We have not upheld the denials, so by default,
Can we move to uphold it and have it returned upon further review?
Well, by not voting for it,
Can't we
it
just-
has to be denied.
Right, or can we table it?
we already voted.
Well, we're denying the denial.
Right. So by default,
But is that and I don't know the answer to this. Is it well, one, the vote's already been made. But I don't know if it's something that needs to be approved.
Well, or if it is that way, does then it come back before us?
Yeah,
Is there-
I don't know.
There's no action can be taken.
Well, in some regards, we just did something, right? So we just
Right.
voted.
we voted.
3-3.
Right. We voted
So
to.
we voted 3-3, so you know that. But that I don't know. But what you're saying is, okay, we've already voted, and that's true. I think we're going to have to figure out exactly what the consequence is. I mean, the consequence is a strong word. I don't mean it in that way, but what the result is.
But the proposed motion to deny.
Or it didn't fail. It didn't pass or fail. It's neutralized. It's neutralized. Because one side did not prevail.
If you don't approve it by default, it fails.
But then has the board
Yes.
approved?
But I would get official ruling on this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll probably find this out tomorrow as to here's what we've done. We'll call Steve Widener and just say, what is the official result of this, I guess. But we'll be in touch with you tonight as to talk about things. And if there is anything you can do in help, please advocate for your daughter and come with an open mind. And I promise from the school district we'll do the same as well. Okay. Yep.
So you're going to get a ruling
Well, we are going to get one. Yeah, we'll probably call Steve Widener to say what
tomorrow
is this-
morning.
Yeah, what does a 3-3 vote do on this motion? Yeah, and maybe back. We have a school board meeting in 2 weeks, as well. So I don't know, or if it, I don't know if it takes another vote. Yeah. Okay. We'll be in touch. Okay. Does everybody understand? We'll get that legal ruling and send it out to everybody to say, what does this mean?
And somebody's
So-
going to contact the parents?
Yeah,
as soon as we
tonight.
get it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And with that, the next item on our agenda, Matt, thank you for waiting patiently here. Hope you're not. Were you supposed to go to the city council meeting as well, or not? No. Okay, you're off. Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry. We still have H. Excuse me, SIAC. Yes. All right. So the next item on our agenda is Exhibit H on page 31, and the recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the appointment of the 2014-2015 School Improvement Advisory Committee. Thank you. In a second.
Second.
Okay. In discussion, I think, was there an addition?
I'd like to offer just a friendly amendment
Yes.
that there is a board member representative on the committee, and it is me.
Yes.
And I just think it should be, because this document has to be filed with the state, so my
Yeah.
name should be
Okay.
listed as the board member.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Okay,
what's
and
your-
so that's an
I'm
amendment.
sorry,
So
what's
the rec.
your proposal?
My name needs to be added to the SIAC committee. It's not on there. So, because it does state that there has to be a Board of Education member, must approve the committee, and it must consist of teachers, students, administrators, parents, community members, and the Board of Education. So,
So who left you off?
I don't know. I probably did, because I probably, my
Okay.
name tag probably didn't get there the last meeting because I was late. Who knows? So.
Okay, so the friendly amendment would be that the Board of Education approve the appointment of the 2014-15 School Improvement Advisory Committee with the inclusion of school board member Shanley McNally.
Thank you, yes.
And that's who moved it? Sue and Shanley seconded. That's good? Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the chair votes aye, motion carried. That then takes us on to the technology purchase to Matt O'Brien. And the recommended motion is that the Board of Education approve the purchase of Trip Light UPS and data center infrastructure at a total cost of $56,693 and the purchase of Cisco network switches at the total cost of $60,046.04. This is Exhibit I on page 33. All those, can we get the motion on the floor, please?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
Sue Shanley? Okay, thanks. All right, in discussion, and Matt's here to give us some background information on this. Matt.
Sure. So as you're aware, we're moving. The technology department is relocating to the bus garage facility, which the board is well aware of, has been previously approved. There were some items that we deliberately did not include in the master construction contract because, quite honestly, it was cheaper for us to purchase those separately so that the markup wasn't added and you don't get the contractor and subcontractor markup, that type of thing as well. And it was items that we needed to be involved, making sure that was specified and that would work with our infrastructure, obviously. So for those reasons, these are items that are necessary for us to make that move over there. And I do want to kind of define that word necessary because, and the board document kind of outlines this as well. It's not that we don't currently have a UPS here. It's not that we obviously don't have core network equipment here. But in the case of the UPS, that UPS we have here is actually going to be at the time of the move. The batteries will be at about 2/3 of their life expectancy. That coupled with the fact we're still going to have some pretty critical equipment here just made sense for us to go ahead and open the new facility with new equipment there. And then the racks and items like that obviously are necessary for that as well. As far as the core network equipment, I don't want to throw a lot of tech jargon at you, so I'll kind of simplify it a little bit. The switches, when we talk about a network switch, that's what all of the devices, like a computer, or in this case servers, or our internet service, all of that plugs into those type of things. And quite honestly, our core network here at ESC is at pretty much the end of its lifespan. So this was probably an item that, irregardless of the move, I would have to come to bring to you because we're due to really upgrade our network and bring it basically up to newer standards, faster speeds, that type of thing, without getting too technical on you. So again, it just makes sense to couple that with our move to our new data center. So those are the two items before you.
Gotcha. And I just had some questions. Will this be the technology center for the city as well, or will?
No, it won't.
Okay.
The city still what Mr. Young is referring to is the agreement we have with the City of Waterloo to provide with them tech support coverage. So the city will still maintain a separate office, a separate kind of data center there, and I think that's prudent, just given that it's a year-to-year agreement. We certainly leverage staff out of this facility that then go to the city to work on things, but the city will maintain its autonomous facility there as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I didn't ask that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that in a negative way.
Sure.
That sort of thing. But just, is there kind of backup between the two?
We've actually been
Will this provide some backup?
Not initially, but we've actually started those conversations right now. So for fast interconnectivity between places, you need really fiber optics, fiber cable between those. And right now, the school district has kind of an island of fiber. In other words, all of our schools and facilities are connected with fiber. Same with the city, that most of the city facilities are connected with city fiber. So we've started some conversations about linking the two of those together to kind of broaden some possibilities, but that's not in the plans right now, but those conversations have started.
Got it, okay.
Matt, do you typically get 2 bids, or do you seek additional bids and this is all you got returned, or?
To be quite honest, both of these we actually started the conversation with the manufacturer. So we actually started the conversations with Triplite and with Cisco. Actually kind of started some negotiation as far as discount levels and things of that nature with them. Then they have to actually release kind of the bid package to vendors from there. So it's actually the manufacturers that released those. We stated vendors that we had worked with in the past, and really there were 3 vendors with one of those on both of those that we had worked with in the past, and stated those as far as ones we for sure wanted it released to. Then it was up to them whether or not they wanted to release it farther than that. Quite honestly, you'll notice, particularly in the Cisco bid, they were very competitive, and quite honestly, we're getting some great deals here. The Cisco stuff is about half, just a little over half of list price, which is some aggressive pricing. So we didn't push it further than that release just because we were so pleased with the bids that we got back with the 2 that we did receive.
Typically, in the area of consolidation, deconsolidation, consolidation is the preferred efficiency.
Sure.
Now, these are special circumstances, I understand that, but long-term, do you anticipate consolidation of everything over there, or are there certain things here that are just too costly to move, or?
I'm sorry, are you talking about just within the school district or with the city
just
together?
Within the school district.
Within the school district, sure. So consolidation is something that we have actually already done quite a bit of over the last 5 years, and without boring you with details, just quickly, one of the things that we have done is when I kind of went into this leadership position, we kind of had a change in team behind me. We kind of came from a model, or we were thrown into a model where each school had multiple servers of, hosting kind of their own things, and we actually, through a several-year process, kind of consolidated all of that so that we're hosting all of the applications, those type of things, either at our data center or, when appropriate, in the cloud, meaning out in the internet, kind of hosted providing. So we've kind of made some huge efforts with that already. Second piece, which the board has previously approved a couple years ago, and we continue to expand that, is a project called server virtualization, which, without getting too technical, basically means that we can run multiple servers, multiple virtual servers on a single physical server. Again, in terms of consolidation, that decreases our footprints in terms of the number of actual servers, appliances, devices, obviously then decreasing maintenance needs, decreasing electrical needs, those type of things as well. I think maybe the other part of your question is just kind of what's moving versus what's staying and how's all that working out. The vast majority of equipment from our data center upstairs will move over to the new facility. Two categories of equipment that won't. The first is this building still needs to have network access and basically functionality that's critical for this building to maintain network and phone service, those type of things. So obviously we have to keep switches here and things of that nature at this building, just like we have it at all the schools. It's necessary to be at each location. Second category of things that won't, at least initially, move is some of our contracts, most notably phone contracts, as well as our internet service ISP contracts, are written that this location is what's called the demarcation point, or basically the point where the service provider hands off the service to us. So initially, our equipment that kind of interfaces with that will have to stay here. As those contracts come due, and they'll come before the board at that point, we'll have some that I'll probably be taking to you sometime in Christmas time as our phone service is renewed for the next year, and we'll need to go out to bid for that. We may be writing in some of those to change location to the new facility as well. So some of that equipment will have to stay until the contracts are up, and then we'll move that over.
So in the UPS system here is at its expected life.
Near its expected life, yes, sir.
Do you replace it with a smaller system, or have moved enough that it's not needed anymore?
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's 2/3 of its life, so it's not dead yet, so to speak. Yeah. But it was prudent to make that decision. Quite honestly, we haven't had those conversations yet. The UPS we have here, in terms of runtime for the equipment we have, really only provided about 15 minutes of runtime. Obviously, the load will be going down considerably as we move equipment, and that will increase, but we honestly haven't done the math yet to see what we'll do, whether we actually downsize that system or whether we continue to have it at its current capacity, just as we do the math with runtime and what we feel like is going to be needed for this building after we move the equipment out.
But each individual school doesn't have a UPS, does it?
Each school has some sort of UPS for what's called its core network equipment. In other words, kind of the main switch that feeds service in and out of the building. It doesn't provide for an extended period of time, but that's something that's prudent and recommended, just to prevent the equipment from suffering brownouts, which can damage the equipment, that type of thing. So the most critical equipment does.
So that minimal requirement would be needed here.
Yeah, at a minimum, absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And just clarify what UPS is for a viewer that
Sure.
just comes on.
UPS is uninterruptible power supply, so when the electricity goes out, it's basically a big battery that allows our equipment to still function until that battery dies.
Got it, okay.
No, we're not talking brown here.
Let me put you on the spot again. Has work started on the building?
My understanding is there's been some kind of behind the scenes things done with some movement and getting the appropriate permits and paperwork filed with the city.
Gotcha.
So they've had bits of starts, not as much of a start as that they would actually
But this
like.
is all at the Progressive Tool
Yep.
building.
It is,
Right, that's
yes.
where all this will be. Okay.
Thanks, man.
Yes.
We try.
Yes.
I enjoy battling with vendors, so that's always good fun.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet.
Any further questions? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the chair votes aye. Motion carried. That takes us then to Exhibit J. It starts on page 37. This is one amendment to, or an amendment to one of our policies, 402.8, regarding gifts to employees. It's up for first reading, so there's no vote on this. But for this, Tara Thomas chairs our board policy subcommittee. So Tara, turn it over to you.
We're just adding language here in the first sentence, but it becomes district property if obtained for use in an instructional setting as an employee of the district, in part because of the tax sheltered status. And that's by way of some examples we've had whereby the crowdsourcing that came before you prior this year has been an issue. So this just supports that change in the policy to ensure, should an employee acquire any kind of property, i.e. 3D printer, that would require tech support and some other resource expense, then the assumption is that item would stay with the district because it's been acquired by that individual from the benefit of the tax shelter of a nonprofit. So we just wanted to strike that, or add that language for that particular concern. And then striking the language on the next page, Sue Flynn brought this to our attention, which I thought was a good point. It had included 25th or 50th as specific examples. We would not want to discourage gifts for anniversaries of other years. We should celebrate every year.
That's right. Good catch, Sue. Yes. Any questions or discussion?
Thank you, Tara.
Yes, Sarah, thank you very much. All right, and again, this will be up for next reading at our, up for approval at our next board meeting. With that, that concludes the action items on our agenda. So now it's time for the superintendent's report from Dr. Lindeman.
You bet. Thank you. Well, just a couple items. The first and foremost, and some of this is just for the board members who were not at the high school task force reform meeting on Thursday, and for the viewers, for that matter. We had a really great meeting on Thursday night, and we had the task force convene, and then each person invited one member from the community. And so we had about, I believe the last count, I think it was 37 community members who were able to attend. And so we kind of did what I call a trial run of just our conversation of sharing the message, sharing the work that we've done thus far. And then we did it in a format where we shared a little bit, paused, and let people kind of process that, and what did they think about the content of the message, and what did they think about the packaging of the message, the sharing of that. And so we had phenomenal feedback, just great feedback. And the good part is about the concept of what we're trying to do with bringing engaging, a new avenue for education to our Waterloo schools. It was really well received, and I didn't hear anyone who was there who disagreed with the message. But what we did get was really great feedback on how to best share that. And so we, Tara and her crew, they didn't get a very good crack at it ahead of time, but they are working at it right now, and they have had the benefit of hearing what everybody else thought, and they're going to clean up my work and package it so sparkly that it's going to shine. So they're working on that now. And then the other piece of that too is, because we've got a huge group of employees, 1,600 employees, and so we are working on a variety of options for people to get that message even clearer, because we want all of our employees to be very clear and to weigh in and to give input before anybody else. And so we are preparing a very short video. We're preparing a frequently asked questions document. We're actually videotaping some of the upcoming community meetings. I'm going to do some face-to-face, so they'll have a variety of options of how they can get that message. So we're working on that right now as well. I was trying to think. I think I had something else I was going to share on that. But anyway, it's really, I know I was going to share the dates of the community forums, and we will have this widely publicized, so you don't necessarily have to remember these right now. But November 6th and 8th, November 10th and 11th, and November 17th. We've actually planned 5 dates. There's one of them is a Monday, one's a Tuesday, one's a Wednesday, one's a Thursday, and one is a Saturday at 10 o'clock. So we've got 5 dates. We're going to have those dates publicized on, actually, we're going to do a little blurb on KWWL. It'll certainly be in the Courier, and then all over our website. And then we'll, be publicizing at conference. I certainly will. At conferences, we'll be sharing that with parents. So the dates are the 6th and the 8th. That's a Thursday and a Saturday. These are November dates, 6th and 8th, November and Saturday, or no, Thursday and Saturday. And then the 10th and 11th, which is a Tuesday, Wednesday. 11, 12. Well, I'm so glad you said that. Thank you. Well, yes, not that day. The 11th and 12th. I apologize for that. See, I thought I had those in my mind. 11th and 12th, which is a Tuesday and a Wednesday. And I would just make a comment to the viewers about the Wednesday night. We certainly realize that is a family night and a church night for some. And it's just meant to be an option. There are a lot of other options. So if Wednesday night works great, if kids are somewhere and that works for you, fantastic. It's just meant to offer a variety of options. We're just trying to make sure that we offer a little bit for everybody. And then 17th is the following Monday. So a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Not all in a row, but those are the dates. So we've got a lot of action going on at this point. November is going to be a very busy month, as are all of them. But that's exciting work. So I would also add, count date was October 1, and we are really pleased to report that we are up 146 students. Again, so that's 3 years of pretty steady growth, so we're excited about that. Elementary was up 61, middle school was up 38, and high school was up 29. And then there were some students who are considered other programs, and there were a few additions there too. So 146 students up, and that does give us an enrollment of 11,139 students. So that's significant. We're over 11,000, which I believe maybe 10, 12 years ago we might have been a little bit over 11 and kind of had some years of drop and now have had a pretty steady incline. So that's a great thing. And then I would just mention too, I think we're going to want to visit with the media and Andrew, but we were Waterloo was named as one of the recipients of a Now is the Time grant. Now is the time. And it's a 5-year grant, and really the purpose is providing to our students and families mental health support services. I know that in the news over the past years, there have been many examples of families who have dealt with mental health in their family, mental health issues, and sometimes they don't know where to turn. And so Waterloo and Davenport and Sioux City were named as the 3 recipients for that grant. So, and the goals, I'll just mention them quickly, were to increase awareness of mental health in the community and within staff. B was to train staff to recognize the early signs, and C, to monitor student progress after intervention. So we're really trying to make sure that we are bolstering everyone's understanding of it and how to respond to that. So I think that's really a great thing for us. And then I would just mention, I guess, finally, that Saturday is the Trick or Trot, which is it's not a Waterloo Schools event, but it certainly is a Waterloo Schools Foundation event. We are separate, but pretty intertwined as far as the financial support that they offer. So I will be there. I will not be running, but I am walking the 5K. So I will be there. So that's an exciting event. Wear your costumes. Don those costumes. My kids will put theirs on and we'll go, but it'll be a great event. I believe it starts early in the morning. I think the costume judging is around 7:30, so bright and early.
And the weather looks great, I think.
The weather looks good, so that's exciting.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Lindemann. And now information from board members. We'll start over here. Angela Weekly.
I have none at this time.
Okay. Thank you. And Sue Flynn?
I just wanted to kudos to all the students, and conferences are in 2 weeks at the high school and the middle school, so work really hard and get your parents to come to the conferences, to meet your teachers, and to share your successes.
Yes, thank you. And Shayla McNally.
Okay, I'm going to wear my band hat for just a little bit because we do have some awesome bands here in Waterloo. Would just like to say that both East and West have been competing in marching band competitions across the state. It's a lot of work for these people, these young, our staff, but also our kids who get up every morning and stay late at night. West took second place at Bands Across the Prairie and 5 Seasons Marching Invitational last week. East High came in 5th at 5 Seasons. Both bands were in Dubuque this past Saturday for the state competition. West High received a Division I, East High received a Division II, And then West High went on to Valley Fest in West Des Moines and took 7th place. So I just want to say again to all those awesome band families that, it's a lot of time and effort, but I'm really proud of all of them. And the West High has one more competition this coming week, Mid-Iowa in Ankeny. And I think East High probably has one more too. And they both have a couple home games. So you can catch those bands with your 8th graders then. Yay.
Great. Thank you, Shanley. And Lyle Schmidt.
Just a couple comments. First, I'm glad to see the enrollment continues and actually favors a little bit, again, the lower grades than upper grades. So that's been a trend, which is good for us. I think enrollment got just a shade above 10,000. We never dropped below 10,000, but we were pretty close. And so now we're 1,000 students above that. So that's good news. By the way, we had 22,000 at one time.
But, I think Waterloo it was over 20 and Cedar Falls was over 10. Yeah, at the same time.
But it's a good number. The second was I agree. I was at the meeting, the high school task force meeting, and the concept. I don't think there was anybody that disagreed with the concept, and most of them said this will sell now to the community. Once you get to money and facilities, the sale might be a little bit, but conceptually, very well received. The tone of the meeting was very good, openness and not being defensive at all. And I thought that was really good. It was very inviting of ideas. And so, I think all the comments will be building on an already good presentation, and so we just need to tweak it so that it answers broadly the questions that people, maybe the broader spectrum of people, not necessarily as involved or interested as this group has. So we need to reach out for everybody. But yeah, I thought it was very well done.
Great. Thank you.
Good job.
And that's it. Our next meeting's in 2 weeks on October 27th at 6 p.m. Here in the boardroom. So if there's nothing further, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We're adjourned. Thank you.